Let's turn to page 10 as we begin our Shabbat service with Yedid Nefesh, page 10. Yedid Nefesh Av Harachaman Mishoch Avdach El Ritzonach Yarutz Avdach Kemo Ayal Yishtachaveh El Mul Hadarach Yerav lo yedidutach minofet suf vechol ta'am hador na'eh ziv ha'olam nafshi cholat ahavatach Ana elna refana la beharod la noam zivach az titchazek vetitrapei vehaitalach shivchat olam Yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai. Yalla lai 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 yalla lai lai lai. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos. Happy New Year. It's good to be together in the new year. Hope it was a relaxing and a peaceful week for everybody. When I think of the new year, I tend to think of Rosh Hashanah first. For me, that's obviously a very busy time. So I appreciate the chance on Rosh Hashanah in America, January 1st, to sleep in instead of being here very early in the morning. But I hope you had a meaningful new year and are ready for a good 2025. We finished Hanukkah, so we put away the Hanukkah candles, but we still have our Shabbat candles, and I invite you to please rise as we welcome in Shabbat with the bracha over the candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav V'tzivanu lehadlik ner V'tzivanu lehadlik ner V'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat Amen. May be seated. We turn to the beginning of Kabbalat Shabbat on page 11. Let us go and sing to God. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, we greet God and we raise our voices in song. Lechuner anena. Lechuner anena, lechuner anena, lechuner anena ladonai. Lechuner anena, lechuner anena, lechuner anena ladonai. Naria, letzor yishenu nekad mafana betoda. Naria, letzor yishenu bizmirot naria lo. Lechuner anena, lechuner anena, lechuner anena ladonai. Lechuner anena, lechuner anena, lechuner anena ladonai. 40 shana kut bedor v'amar amto elevavhem v'hem lo yadu derachai asher nishpati v'api im yevon el menuchati. We turn to page 14, in the middle of the page, Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. V'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam. Yiram hayam. Yiram hayam umelo. Yiram hayam. Yiram hayam. Yiram hayam umelo. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. V'tagel haaretz. Let's turn to page 21. Kabbalat Shabbat is made up of 6 different psalms, each one representing a day of the week, and we choose passages from among them each Friday night. Tonight I wanted to include the words of Psalm 29, the psalm that talks about Kol Adonai, the voice of God thundering over the waters, one of the most beautiful images, I think, in the Kabbalat Shabbat service. Page 21, Mizmor LeDavid, please rise. Mizmor LeDavid, Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, Havu l'Adonai, Kavod va'oz, Havu l'Adonai, Kevod shemo ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim, Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, vayishaber Adonai et arzei halvanon, vayarkidem kemo egel Levanon, v'siryon kemo ven re'emim, Kol Adonai chotzev lahavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai cholel ayalot, vayechesof ye'arot, uvheichalot, Kulo omer kavod, Adonai, lama bul yashava yeshev, Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom, Yai lai 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 lai, Yai lai lai lai, Yai lai 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 lai, Yai lai 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 lai. May be seated. We turn to Lecha Dodi on page 23. We welcome the Shabbat Kala, the Shabbat bride. We'll sing together the first 3 stanzas on the page, and then we turn to the final stanza, Bo'ii v'shalom, come in peace. When we reach that final stanza, we rise in our places and we face the door, symbolically welcoming in Shabbat, page 23. Lecha Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad hishmi'anu, Ela miyuchad Adonai echad, U'shemo echad l'shem ultiferet, Ve'litila lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki hi mekor ha'beracha merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, Kum mitzei mitoch ha'afecha arav lach shevet, V'emek habacha v'hu yachamol alaychem la. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam besimcha u'betzola, Toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. May be seated. We turn to page 27. Mizmor shir, shir leyom haShabbat. Mizmor shir, shir leyom haShabbat. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of God. They flourish in God's courtyards. Page 28, the middle of the page, Tzadik HaTamar. Tzadik HaTamar yifrach, Ki erez balvanon yizker, Shetulim beveit Adonai, Bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu, Hod yenuvun beseva, Teshenim verananim yiyu lehagid, Ki yashar Adonai tzuri, velo avlata bo. Page 29. Adonai malach keyud lavesh and ezrav tikon devabaltim v'nachon gizram ezrav. Eirotecha nemnu meod leveitcha nava kodesh. Eirotecha nemnu meod leveitcha nava kodesh. Adonai leorech yamim. I invite you to rise as we turn to the people around us and we share with our family members, our friends, our fellow community members, the words of Yevarechecha, the priestly blessing offered by Aaron and his sons to the whole congregation in ancient times, offered to our children at special occasions and to each other every Shabbat. Yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la. Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha kein yehi ratzon. Yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka kein yehi ratzon. Yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom kein yehi ratzon. Yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la. May be seated. We turn to the Mishaberach, to our prayer for healing. As we think of the people in our lives in need of physical and spiritual well-being, if you'd like to include someone in our prayer tonight, I invite you to rise in your place and to share their names when I come to you. Call that a good day. Think of Kol HaCholim, all those in need of healing, join together in the Mishaberach. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We turn to the Mourner's Kaddish on page 30, and I invite those in mourning or marking a yortzeit to rise and join me in the words of the Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divera kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabbah mevorach leolam u'lomei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata damiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. You may be seated. Good Shabbos. So one of the elder statesmen of my profession of being a conservative rabbi was a man named Rabbi Jules Harlow. And his name might be familiar to people who've been in conservative synagogues because he served as the editor of conservative movement prayer books for many decades. His was the name on Sidor Sim Shalom, which many conservative synagogues used for most of the latter half of the 20th century into the 21st, into fairly recently. And he was a noted liturgist and worked for the Rabbinical Assembly. And he passed away last February. And I remember reading obituaries of him, and there was one story that I thought was so beautiful that really stuck out. Rabbi Harlow grew up in Sioux City, Iowa. Not a community I think of when I think of large, prospering Jewish communities. But he grew up very active in his Jewish community, and he grew up in close proximity to his grandfather, a man named Sam. And he was very close to his grandfather. In fact, he learned to love the study of Talmud, of Gemara, of rabbinic texts from his grandfather. And he wrote about how every Shabbat afternoon, he would go over to his grandfather's house and he would study Talmud with him throughout his school, his elementary and middle and high school years. And even he stayed local for college and continued in college to study with his grandfather. And your study partner is called a chavruta. It's the Aramaic word for friend, related to the word chaver, reflecting the fact that when you study with someone on a regular basis, when you learn to use rabbinic parlance together with them, you develop a special relationship with them. You understand how each other think. You become very intimate in a way. And he felt this attachment to his grandfather that was a really special bond. And then after college, he went off to rabbinical school. He left Sioux City, Iowa, and he went to New York City to JTS, the same school that I and many other conservative rabbis went to. And he continued to learn Talmud, not with his grandfather, but with the teachers there, with his classmates. Now, obviously, this was way before email and texting and easy to communicate. Long-distance phone calls were quite expensive, so he didn't talk to his grandfather that often. But every week, he did what people do. He wrote a letter to his grandfather. He wrote a letter telling him what he studied in Talmud that week, and sent it back to his grandfather in Iowa. Then, sadly, his grandfather passed away somewhat suddenly. And Rabbi Harlow, pre-Rabbi Harlow, went back to Iowa for the funeral and for the Shiva. And when he went into his grandfather's house, place where he had been so many times studying with his grandfather, he went over to his desk and he saw the book that was sitting there. The last book that his grandfather had studied was the tractate of Talmud that he was studying in school. And each page was marked with the letter that he had sent his grandfather about that page. And the very last page, the last page that he had been on, was the final letter that Rabbi Harlow had sent his grandfather. His grandfather, from a distance, had been studying together with Rabbi Harlow for that entire time, even though he hadn't realized it. They'd continued to be in conversation together. It was an absolutely beautiful story of a bond that was forged through Torah study, which is a great way to form a bond with someone. And I thought about this story looking at the Torah portion we read tomorrow, Parshat Vayigash. We reach the culmination of the story of Joseph. He's been away from his family for 20-something years, hasn't known if his father is still alive, the father who he was very close with as a child, and he meets his brothers who come to Egypt seeking food. We go through the whole story about how he deceives them. He puts them to the test, seeing if they would stick up for each other, stick up for Benjamin, the youngest one. And finally, in the key scene of tomorrow's Torah portion, he reveals his identity. He says, I am Joseph. Ha'od avi chai. Is my father still alive? And he is. He sends back the brothers to Egypt, to Israel, to the land of Canaan, to bring Jacob back to Egypt, to bring his family down, to keep them safe from the famine. And we talk about he sends his father gifts. He sends him wagons and animals and food, all of these signs of Egyptian royalty or Egyptian wealth that he would have had with him. We read in the Torah that Jacob sees all of these things and suddenly knows in his heart that his son is still alive. And the rabbinic commentators ask, how did he know? Okay, so he saw some animals, he saw some wagons that looked Egyptian. He's thought his son has been dead for 20-something years. How did he know that his son, why did he believe that he was still alive? Did he just want to believe it? And they come up with a very clever answer. It's an answer that's an example of Midrash, one of those beautiful legends that describes, that supplements the Torah stories. And it says that Jacob and Joseph, when Joseph was younger, had studied together, had learned together, much like Rabbi Harlow and his grandfather. And what Joseph sent his brothers back to say was actually a message to Jacob about the last thing they had studied together, the last thing they had learned together before his brothers sold him off to Egypt. And when Jacob heard that Joseph, this man in Egypt, knew exactly what they had learned together 20-something years ago, he knew in his heart that Joseph was alive and that they would be able to rebuild their relationship after so many times. And they do, and those are some of the beautiful scenes in tomorrow's Torah portion. But one of the things that I love about the story from Rabbi Harlow and the story from Joseph is the way that study connects people. That learning our tradition brings people together and forms relationships between them. I used before that term chavruta, a study partner or a friend, and recognizing that the ability to learn our holy texts does indeed bring us closer to the other people, creates a bond based around this shared tradition. When we see Jewish people across the world, we're brought together by our familiarity with the texts in this book, with the Siddur. Being able to open the Siddur and look at a common page, possibly know the same melody, but at the very least be familiar with what is going on. It's one of the things that I love the most about Jewish tradition. It's one of the things I love the most about Torah study, that when I study with someone on a regular basis, I learn so much more about them. For example, when people come to my Torah study class every week, not a commercial for the class, but if you want to come, it would be great. And I see people week after week. I get an insight into the way they think, and they understand the way that I think about things. And it's really a wonderful experience. So I appreciate one of the great gifts of our tradition is the ability to learn with others. Because learning is always a two-way street in Jewish tradition. It's not just the rabbi talking or teaching. It's us taking a text that we in some form attribute to God and to our older ancestors, and taking it and discussing it back and forth, bringing personal meaning out of it, arguing about it, pushing it, twisting it until it comes out the way that we want it to come out. Torah study is something special that from our oldest history has brought Jewish people together and is a blessing that we continue to have as Jews today. Shabbat Shalom. Let's turn to page 39. Please rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. May be seated. Blessed are you, Lord our God, creator of the universe, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from before the light. Ma'avir yom u'mevi layla, ma'avdil ben yom u'ben layla, Adonai tzevaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Hamari Varavim. Page 40, Ahavat Olam Yisrael Chavta, Torah Mitzvot. Ki hem chayenu v'yorech yameinu, uvahem nehegei yomam v'halayla, v'yavatecha. Al tasir mimenu leolamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochpecha uv'kumecha u'kshertam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha. Continue on page 42. Vayomer Moshe Mordaber Bnei Yisrael Adonai Elohechem Emet V'emunah kol zeh v'kiyam aleinu kiyun aleinu. Hamavir banav ben Gizrei Yamsuf V'rofeihem v'yatzonehem bitomoti ba V'ra'u banav kivurato Shibechu v'hodu lishmo Malchuto beratzon Kiblu aleihem Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael Lecha anu shira V'simcha rabba v'yameru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh norati lot osei feleh Malchutecha rauvanecha bokeyam lifnei Moshe Zeli anu v'yameru Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed V'ne'emar kifadar Adonai et Yaakov u'yelo miyad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai gal Yisrael. Allow us, God, to sleep peacefully and awaken us again to life. Spread over us your canopy of peace. Blessed are you who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, and over Jerusalem. Page 45, the nighttime prayer, Hashkivenu. Yalalai, 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 Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom, leshalom, leshalom Ve'hamidenu Malkeinu Lechaim, lechaim Leshalom, leshalom, leshalom Uferos aleinu Sukat Shelomecha Leshalom, leshalom, leshalom V'takneinu b'etzah tova milfanecha Leshalom, leshalom, leshalom Yalalai, yalalai, yalalai Yalalai, yalalai, yalalai Yalalai, 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 yalalai Yalalai, yalalai, yalalai ושמור צאתנו בואנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים. Page 46, please rise. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ביעמד יברך קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי יומיה. יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה, בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמא ויאמרו Amen. We spend the next few moments in silent prayer with the words of the Amidah, beginning on page 47. When you've completed the Amidah, you may be seated. Join together at the bottom of page 52, Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom. Hu Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imeru Amen. Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom. Page 54, Kaddish Shalem. Yitkara v'yitkara Shemei Rabbah, B'yalma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon v'chonim chedecho Beit Yisrael, B'agalau izman kari v'yimmeru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach, Le'olam v'lolam le'omaya, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpar, V'yidama, V'yitnaseh, V'yidadar, V'yidaleh, V'yidalash Medekudesha, Richu, Le'elam, Min Kol Berchata, V'shirata, Tushbach Ravanechem Mata, Damiran, V'yalma, V'yimmeru, Amen. Titgabal, Slot Honavat, Hondacho, Yisrael, Kadam Avundi V'shmaya, V'yimmeru, Amen. Yehishlam Araba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu V'al Yisrael, V'yimmeru, Amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Yisrael, V'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, V'yimmeru, Amen. Page 55, please rise for the Kiddush. I want to invite any kids who are here to join me in the front of the room at the Bima. Savrim, Aranan, Rabbanan, Rabotai, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddishanu mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'yavav ratzon yichilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, B'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Chaim. Thank you. We continue page 56 with Aleinu. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latekeru liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye aratzot, velo samanu kimishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, vanachnu korim, Mishachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu noteh shamayim veyoser haaretz umoshav yekaro bashamayim mima'al ushchinatu zo begavei meromim. Malkeinu efes ulato, kakatu betorato, viadata yom hashevota elevavecha, ki Adonai hua Elohim, hashamayim yimal, vial haaretz mitachat einod. Kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. May be seated. We turn to page 58. This week we observed the Yort sites of Charles Layton, Irving Stern, Janice Levine, June Miller, Kalman Sutger, Philip Wittes, Phyllis Apple, Sam Brenner, Ann Jennis, Herman Smith, Leonora Lewin, Lillian Dibner, Lori Shifton, Michael First, Meyer Aschendorf, Pearl Perlmutter, Beatrice Cantor, Brenda Meltzner, Ida Marcia Brodsky, Louis Brownstein, Rosalie Albaum, Thomas Carney, Thomas Hagen, Albert Chaffetz, Cheryl Ann Pepper, David Brenner, Doris Flegel, Hannah Abrams, Lena Schultz-Leibovitz, Molly Goldfarb, Morris Goodman, Theodore Goldsmith, Bessie Jolson Schlesinger, Gertrude Sarah Fleischer, Jacob Burke Friedland, Jimmy Abrahams, Joseph Kalshar, Louis Krieger, Lucy Margolis, Philip Adler, Scott Allen Hunger, Stephen Miller, Sylvia Brenner, Benjamin Schwartz, Emma Backenheimer, Fanny Cohen Schwartz, Faye Tannenbaum Lilling, Florence Reese Perlin, Harry Mernick, Howard Seff, Jeffrey Aronoff, Joyce Ross, Lottie Motzman, Sue Warschauer, Carol Spiesman, Essia Acker, Gesa Liebman, Helen Bernhard, Herbert Roskind, Lucille Taylor, Max Fishman, Paula Kipnis, Samuel Kornstein, Saul Levin, Shirley Wasserman, Sylvia Kronovit, William Joseph Paul, Berta Kaplan, Beanam Schraga, Celia Schmaling, Faye Teitelbaum, Gabriel Spiel, Carl Boxer, Norman Schoenbrunn, and Rachel Harris. We also mark the loss of several people in the last Shloshim in the last 30 days. Tonight we remember Barry Goodman and Olivia Cohen. Page 58, I invite those in mourning or marking a Yort site to rise and join me in the words of the Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divera kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen, yehi shemei rabbah mevorach leolam u'lomeo maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechamata damiran v'yalma v'yimru amen yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. May be seated. Good Shabbos, everyone. Adam, thank you for joining and helping me out tonight. We want to thank Sean for live streaming us this evening for people who are joining us outside of the building. A few announcements. Tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m., Shabbat morning services. And over the next few weeks, we have a lot going on, including the return of my Torah study class that I mentioned this Thursday at 10, and also the next round of the Melton School of Adult Jewish Learning, which is a program that we participate in together with Temple Beth El and the Federation. And I'll be teaching the next class, Jewish Answers to Life's Most Challenging Questions, a 6-part class that meets on Wednesday evening starting February 5th, and you can register through the Federation's website. Next Shabbat is a really busy Shabbat at Temple Israel. We'll be celebrating the bar mitzvah of R.J. Sisson, at Friday night services and Shabbat morning services. Also, in the morning, we mark Shabbat Yeladim, our next junior congregation or kids service in the small chapel at 10:30 a.m. And that evening, Havdalah and hot chocolate with PJ Library at 5 o'clock to 6:30 in the social hall. A few weeks from now, towards the end of January, I want to invite people to join us for an online program, a Jewish genealogy workshop, together with Rabbi Scott Kalmakoff, who will teach us about researching our family histories. He'll talk specifically about Jewish and European Jews, but what he teaches is applicable to anyone. And I'll just share it's a subject that I find very interesting. How many people have done 23andMe or Ancestry.com? I did it. It came back and they told me 99.9% Ashkenazi Jew. And I was like, thanks, I knew that already. But it was fascinating because 5 minutes with Rabbi Kalmakoff, and I knew more about my family than I'd ever known before. It was really fascinating how he was able to, just giving him a little of information, he was able to sort through lots of records and knew where to look to learn about family stories. And finally, you can join still on Tuesday, January 14th at 1 o'clock for a presentation by the Kavadlos about their trip to South Africa. And you can find all of this information online and in the synagogue emails that go out every week. Let's turn back to page 5, and we conclude Kabbalat Shabbat with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Archuni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeidchem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom.